Bank. We have details. Former President John Mahama warns the country could soon hit debt distress level if the level of borrowing is not stopped.
These are worrying developments that must be given careful consideration. And yet, government is increasingly borrowing to consume and not to invest in infrastructure and production.
We have more from the former president as he challenges the Vice President Bawumia to organize another lecture to explain the free fall of the Ghana cedi.
I'm sure today they see the reality. And I'd have hoped that Bawumia will give another lecture and say some of the same theoretical things he used to say. You don't run an economy from textbooks. You don't run an economy with economic lectures.
We have more from that social media interaction with the former President Mahama. Minority in Parliament to resist plans by government to give a $23 million tax waiver for the Pullman Accra Airport City Hotel project, alleging the company is getting the waiver because of its links to the president.
No other Ghanaian entity has been extended such a facility. The basis for this request is not sound. It doesn't make public sense.
In our Arrive Alive campaign tonight, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament alleges political expediency is responsible for the lack of enforcement of road regulations.
As we speak, commercial vehicles are not required to go on the machine because commercial drivers are organized and they can demonstrate against governments. And governments are afraid. But otherwise, safety of you, the driver, and your passengers should be paramount.
And in business, dollar demand is still high despite the city's marginal stability witnessed over a month now.
And later in sports, Black Stars coach CK Akono calls for massive support as he continues the store of Europe in search of players for Ghana's next assignment in March.
And on flip side tonight, we ask who a witch is.
Anybody who criticizes this has a problem. We need to take him to synagogue for deliverance. Because if good things happen, we are not happy, that is equivalent to witchcraft.
We'll hear the Volta Regional Minister Archibald Letcher's advice to those raising concerns about the regional level commissioning of ambulances. We have more here on Newsnight, brought to you by Puma Card from Puma Energy. Cash-free convenience. I am Emefa, Apawu, and I'm here with Evans Mensah. Please join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp. It's 0244 340 437. And in our very first story for tonight, a leaked memo from the Attorney General's Department has revealed that the AG had officially questioned the legal basis of the Bank of Ghana's decision to revoke the license of Unibank. In a 2019 advice on the matter, Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboadame observed that the central bank's decision to terminate the official administration Unibank was placed under and proceed to revoke its license, quote, cannot be supported in terms of Section 122, Clause 2 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act. The advice was written for the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Evans, what's the background to this advice?
So you recall that the central bank, in initial stages when they alerted that the Unibank was in trouble, they appointed an administrator for that purpose. Now, subsequently, the Unibank's license was revoked. Unibank challenged that in court. Now, in that process, they also served notice of joining the Attorney General to that particular suit. Now, it was in that process that the Attorney General then had to offer an opinion to the Ken Ofori-Atta, obviously also the BOG, on the matter. So that is the essence of this particular document, and this dated the 25th of January 2019, which is last year, when the plaintiffs in the matter, Dr. Kwamina Dufour and 16 others, in challenging the decision of the central bank to revoke the license of Unibank, sought to join the Attorney General to it.
Well, and we're learning that the Deputy Attorney General raised questions about the legality of the BOG's decision to revoke the license of Unibank.
Yes, he did. This is his preliminary observations as captured in this document that we have. Now, in that document, just quickly also to the background, as something he addressed, the central bank appointed an administrator in the matter, which is KPMG. Now, according to Godfrey Dame, who is the Deputy Attorney General, per his understanding of the law, and he has invited Ken Oforiatta, there was a stipulated time of 6 months that the administrator was given to operate. Now, according to him, the law requires that the administrator must be allowed to exhaust the 6 months, and within which period the administrator was supposed to do a few things. The series of things that the law specified for him to do did not include a basis or writing a report that forms a basis for a revocation of license. Now, Godfrey Dame, in fact, goes on to state the measures that KPMG was expected to take. One of the key ones was a report that KPMG was supposed to write. That report, Godfrey Dame argued, in the opinion to the finance minister, was one, an assessment of the amount of assets likely to be realized in a liquidation of the bank, and two, a proposal to make the bank carry out corrective measures in the nature of either capital increase or measures to minimize disruption to depositors and preserve the stability of the bank. So that's the report. Now, the Attorney General's office also argued that KPMG was supposed to act in a way to roll out a series of measures, and these measures did not include revocation of license. It lists them in the law. One, capital increase by existing shareholders, recapitalization by new shareholders, mergers, sales, and other restructuring like transfer of assets and liabilities to a bridge institution or asset management vehicle established by government, mandatory restricting of liabilities, and removal of directors and key management personnel. Now, this is a quote. It says, "It is apparent from the foregoing that revocation of license of a bank or specialized deposit-taking institution or the appointment of a receiver are not," and he underlined not, "part of the actions that may be taken pursuant to a report prepared under Section 114 of the Act." But I guess even more centrally, his argument was that it is beyond dispute, and this is a quote also, that official administration, Unibank, and again he makes the point that the administrator was not allowed to complete its work before its work was terminated by the central bank and the license revoked. His argument there was that, quote, "It is beyond dispute that the official administration Unibank was placed under terminated with the revocation of license of that bank and the appointment of a receiver for selected assets and liabilities." He says, quote, "It seems that these actions cannot be supported in terms of Section 1122 of Act 930. He says, "As observed above, that section stipulates 4 circumstances under which that action can be taken."
Which are?
It says, "Based on the clear language of that section, any revocation of license pursuant to a recommendation of the official administrator under Section 122 may be done in accordance with Section 16 of the Act. It is undeniable that the revocation of the license of Unibank was not based on Section 16 because this would have required compliance with the provisions of that section." And so, in essence, that was the position of the Attorney General, raising questions, legal questions, about the basis for the central bank's decision to revoke the license. We've spoken to Godfrey Dame. We're expecting to speak to him shortly. He explained that subsequent to this initial preliminary position, they had gone to court and indeed challenged the basis and challenged the position of Unibank in challenging the revocation of license. We'll get him shortly. But let's speak to Edu Jitamaklo. He is, of course, one of the lawyers for the Dufours, and he joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Tamaklo, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your listeners.
I'm pretty sure that your team, they've cited this particular memo written on the 25th January 2019.
That is so.
For you reading it, how much of a difference does it make to the case that you're already pursuing in court against the BOG and the Attorney General?
Now, it's important to make this point that beyond the opinion expressed by the learned Deputy Attorney General related to the comments and the notice of intention to join the Attorney General, we have always taken the position that the revocation of the license of Unibank is one of the greatest injustices to have been done to any Ghanaian company under the Fourth Republic. And so for us, the views expressed by the learned Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Godfrey Dami, for us, further fortifies the position that we have always held. We have always never relied on the opinion by the Attorney General in holding this view. And so for us coming across this particular opinion by him, it rather shows that the position or the long-held position by us is rather firm. And Evans, it is even more terrible when you read the undisputed facts. And for me, that's really where my focus is. The undisputed fact. And this is how the Attorney General put it. We have examined all the processes and documents so far filed by the various parties in the matter, as well as documents received from BOG, and find the following facts as irrefutable, very profound, irrefutable and fundamental to an opinion. Now, for me, is this. By a letter dated 22nd June 2018, the official administrator notified the Ministry of Finance of overdue payment from Government of Ghana and government-related entities to Unibank as at 31st May 2018 in the sum of 800 and over million Ghana cedis. Very profound. And the Attorney General says this particular finding is irrefutable and fundamental. That is to say, nothing can change this fact. And so if the official administrator appointed by Bank of Ghana, by looking through the books of Unibank, come to that irrefutable conclusion that Government of Ghana, in fact, the bills due them or overdue payment amounted to 800 and something million Ghana cedis. Question: on what basis will a government owing a private individual now say on the basis of insolvency they are proceeding to revoke the license of that entity? It can only be an act of wickedness, with the greatest respect.
But in your profession, I read in this particular opinion that is qualified as preliminary observations. Does it suggest that post this there may have been?
The truth of the matter is that we cannot have opinion on facts. If you listen to me carefully, I indicated that we had already formed our opinion. It's our position that the revocation of the license of Unibank was improper, was unjust, was not done. And in fact, if you look at the defense we have put in the court, we have even demonstrated that how in God's name, for instance, do you have an administrator who subsequently, on the basis of his opinion, my license is revoked, then that same person is now appointed as a receiver. Do you know the meaning of conflict of interest, Evans?
Yeah, I'm listening.
The meaning of conflict. So that you provide an opinion that is effectively self-serving. Those positions we have made. We are saying that this current opinion that today is in the public opinion, in the public domain, forms a position that we have already. But what the Attorney General says are the facts. Facts are facts.
I wonder.
In his opinion.
I wonder if any of these facts, as you've mentioned in this advice, are a basis for your. Are any of them a basis for your case in court against the state?
Yes. Because you see, it's a simple question. For instance, you are saying that as a bank, I need to capitalize to a certain amount, okay? And that I have not been able to capitalize to that amount. I come to you and say, listen, the amount of money you, government, you owe me is more than what I need in order to capitalize or to meet my minimum capital. Whilst having this conversation, you proceed to revoke my license on the basis that I have not gotten to that capitalization. Now, if the administrator appointed by the BOG itself says government of Ghana owes me this amount of money, 800, which is more than the amount I need in order to survive. I mean, it's like you want to take oxygen off a baby, okay? And what is required is that the baby should not be breathing. But in this case, the ability of that baby to breathe is the very reason, is the fact that you are indebted to that baby. Give the baby the amount of money for the baby to survive because you are indebted to the baby. You said, no, I will not. I will prefer taking the oxygen off your nostril so you can die. And that exactly is what is in the legal opinion expressed by the Attorney General. I have listened to the Deputy Attorney General with respect, trying to run away from his opinion. There is this saying that nothing convicts a man faster than his own words, whether written or spoken.
We will hear from him shortly. But Emefa, there's a further development on this in the last few hours.
You know, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, is interacting on social media live as we speak. Amongst others, a number of issues he's raised. This particular letter that you've been giving us details about, he's been speaking on it. We can hear him.
With some of the banks, we cannot say that everybody worked above board and did not contribute to the state in which some of the banks were. And so we need to investigate that and isolate that. But then we also need to look at the other issues. You know, was government too hasty because of some other reason that we don't know? I don't want to attribute bad faith to anybody, but like you're saying, there are little things that we're seeing. You know, I mean, recently I saw this Attorney General's opinion about the closure of Unibank. And the point is, if it's real, I don't know, and that's why I'm being very careful with what I say. If that document is authentic and the Attorney General said it's not legal to close this bank and all that, why would we have done what we did? And couldn't we have given the banks time to realign their position, bring them back on board? There are some that were moribund that you could close, yes, but I believe that there are some that could have been saved. You know, you close a bank because the owner has another case of fraud against him before the court. So because of that, you know, whatever investment he made in the bank must have been fraudulent. And so you close the bank. There are banks that were not insolvent, that were closed. You know, and so the question is, what was the underlying motive behind the closure of all these banks? It is important for the people of Ghana to know. And if we come into office, we're going to take every single, did they go through the procedure? What were the procedures they should have gone through? And if they didn't go through the procedure, I mean, people have legal rights that they can resort to. Thank you, Mr.
So that is former President John Mahama speaking a short while ago in an interaction with his audience. We can now speak to the Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Dame, whose signature is found on this particular advice written on dated 25th January 2019. Thank you very much, Mr. Dame, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you very much. Good evening to your cherished listeners.
Can you confirm this 25th January 2019 advice to address to Ken Ofori-Atta?
Well, I think first and foremost, we must be careful about the choice of words. I've heard the use of words as advice and opinion. What I can confirm is that there's a letter written or uttered by me, titled clearly as well, request for comment and preliminary observations. They in no way constitute an advice or opinion on the matter. An advice or opinion on the matter is the definitive position taken on the matter by the Attorney General in question. And I must also indicate my surprise that a document which is addressed to the Minister of Finance, duly received by him, as is obvious from the WhatsApp rounds that have been made, and clearly has minutes of officers of the Minister of Finance, can find its way into the hands of Mr. Adongo and further make its way into the press and be commented upon by President Mahama or former President Mahama. Clearly, it's only mischief which can be advanced as a motive for such an occurrence.
Just a quick
record. Hold on. I think I have to place on record that this mischief will not work, and the impression sought to be created by those passing later around are completely false and not supported by the position taken by the Attorney General in the matter.
Okay, just a quick clarity.
You see, I think that the context must be made clear.
Yes, just before, I know the context is important. Give me a second just to clarify one of the quick points you made about the observations, and indeed it's titled Preliminary Observations and Request for Comment. But in the letter, there's a part that says we have examined all the processes and documents so far filed by the various parties in the matter, as well as the documents received from BOG, and find the following facts as irrefutable and fundamental to an opinion on the legal issues arising in the suit. So that's where they get the use of the word opinion comes in. We request for comments in order to guide the Attorney General and make an opinion on the matter. Yes.
So I'm saying that the context must be understood clearly. It was an application to join the Attorney General to the case. That application came with a plethora of documents alluding to all the transactions between Unibank and BOG and the receiver and whatever. And the relationship between the Attorney General and Ministry Departments and agencies is akin to a lawyer-client. But the Attorney General is in a peculiar situation because of the Attorney General's unique role assigned by the Constitution as the principal legal advisor to the state. And so the Attorney General takes account of various other considerations which an ordinary lawyer will not normally do, public interest and whatever. Now, so therefore, when a matter comes before the Attorney General, in which she's listed as a party, she makes her observations and requests the relevant Ministry Department or agency consent to present comments to the court case or on the Attorney General's observations and concerns. After that, the Attorney General proceeds to form a definitive opinion on the matter. And that definitive opinion is what is contained in the court process filed in response to the court action. And in this case, what we did was quite clear. After these requests for preliminary observations were made and the relevant information had been received, the Attorney General filed a defense to the action, and that defense to the action constituted a complete denial and refutal of all the claims of Unibank. So I wonder how a person other than one who is inspired by motive, by a motive and malice, can come to the conclusion that in spite of the Attorney General's complete denial and refutal of the claims by Unibank, the Attorney General took a position against the receivers of Unibank or against BOG. Clearly, it's false.
Just to clarify that this initial position changed subsequently. Is that the position you're making?
Okay, so what I'm saying is that this letter was the first step taken by the Attorney General in the analysis of the case that had been in which she had been sought to be joined. And after this letter and receipt of information, the formal position of the Attorney General was what was contained in the defense to the action filed by the Attorney General. And the defense to the action, contrary to all the arbitrary, absurd claims by first Adongo and now persons as President Mahama, former President Mahama, clearly will show that Attorney General completely refuted and denied the claims of Unibank. And indeed, when the claims of Unibank were denied, the High Court referred the matter to arbitration. And at the arbitration level, the Attorney General was on record as being the only respondent to the arbitration who filed a response. And the response to the arbitration again was another denial and opposition to the claims of Unibank. And our denial and our opposition was upheld by the arbitrator, retired Justice Professor Dateba. And that ruling was delivered on 23rd October 2019. I will quote to you a part of the ruling which clearly upheld the position of the Attorney General, which was contrary to that of Unibank, and which resulted in the dismissal of the claims of Unibank. So the two scenario is that the arbitrator, in the after examining the case of the Attorney General, which was an opposition to the claims of Unibank, upheld the position of the Attorney General and dismissed Unibank's claim. And this position is still there at page 32 of the ruling of Justice Tatiba, paragraph 47. It says the written submission of the second respondent, that's the Attorney General, makes this point and highlights the fact that the learned High Court judge in her ruling affirming the right to the parties to select their own arbitrator. It contains that the judge should have referred the matters in contention to arbitration solicitor and left the appointment of the arbitrator to the parties. It concludes that the appointment of a sole arbitrator by a learned High Court judge was in excess of the powers of the court. The tribunal accepts this view. In consequence of the acceptance of the view of the Attorney General, the tribunal dismissed the action. So indeed, when people go around to say that these preliminary observations and requests for comments clearly made by the Attorney General constituted an agreement with the case of Unibank, it's totally false. And indeed, if we look at it clearly, in respect of each observation we make, we proceed to make the point that we're requesting for information or documents from BOG or from Ministry of Finance to support their position. And our objection to the action was at two levels. First, we raised preliminary objections to the jurisdiction of both the court and then the arbitral tribunal. And our objection to the jurisdiction of the arbitral tribunal was upheld. And I'm saying that the receivers of Unibank, of course, who did not first and foremost were opposed to the arbitration at all and therefore did not participate in the arbitration, failed to file a response. But the Attorney General proceeded to file a response which opposed the arbitration, and that opposition was upheld by the court. So I think that it ought to be jettisoning totally all the absurd claims that have been made by people that they can rely on this letter. So I ask one question. A matter which is contested in court, rulings are made by the court. Rulings are also made by the arbitral tribunal, are ignored by the NDC, and the NDC are relying on an earlier letter written to the Ministry of Finance asking for comment by the Ministry of Finance on the claims by Unibank. This is totally absurd.
However, there are some facts which you pointed to in the 2019 observation, and I wonder if those facts have changed in any way, because one of the fundamental facts you established was that the official administrator, should have been, according to the law you quoted, 1222 of the Act 930, it says, you say that it seemed that these actions cannot be supported in terms of that particular section because its work was 6 months, but was terminated before that and was not based on the administrator's advice, at least, because that has not happened, and yet the revocation was done. And your opinion then was that, and you quoted the facts, that was not supported by the law. Has that changed at all?
No, I'm saying that the constituted opinion observation that we had made, and we requested the Ministry of Finance and BOG to furnish further information or further documentation. And indeed, that documentation, I have on record a bunch of documents that I received from Ministry of Finance, from Bank of Ghana, after the Ministry of Finance I written to the Bank of Ghana, drawing their attention to the observation that we had made. And as I said, our contestation of the matter was at two levels. The first contestation was as to the jurisdiction of both the court and the arbitral tribunal, and that objection was upheld by the court. And for that matter, we didn't have to even proceed in determining the merits of the matter. So, after the merits were not determined, why would we bother ourselves in even ascertaining the veracity or otherwise of the documents that were presented by the Bank of Ghana?
The additional,
if indeed Unibank has lost the case fair and square, why would they now be they filed the matter in court, they filed a counterclaim in court, that counterclaim was dismissed. So what is it? I mean,
the document,
I think that, and now that he is looking at another aspect of the whole transaction, which may even border on criminality. So that is what we're finally,
the documents, the additional documents that came from the BOG and the Finance Ministry, did they in any way alter the facts, such as, one, that the administrator's tenure, the revocation of the license before the tenure expired, and its implications as far as the law was concerned? We stipulated that cannot happen when the stipulation has been given, and the administrator was supposed to do a set of things which did not include license revocation.
I would say that I was completely satisfied with the documents presented by Bank of Ghana, and we proceeded to raise our objections to the jurisdiction of the various bodies, the court and the arbitration body, and those objections were upheld and we're satisfied with it, and that it will be totally delusional on the part of Mr. Dongo and former President Mahama to contend that letter constituted an affirmation of whatever views that they hold. It's totally delusional and must be rejected.
I'm grateful.
To believe in delusion if they believe so.
I'm grateful that you could join us. That is Godfred Yeboadame, is the Deputy Attorney General. He authored and signed that document that has now become a subject of some controversy. Apparently,
there's a response from the Bank of Ghana, and this is dated 25th June 2019. 8 points, observations. They respond to all the 8 observations that were made by the Deputy Attorney General. First, the Deputy AG observed that the foundation of the BOG's decision resulting in the appointment of the receiver for Unibank and the transfer of selected assets and liabilities to Consolidated Bank. This is the BOG's response to that. We disagree with the Deputy AG's claim that the 90-day report was the only report submitted to BOG by KPMG during the period of official administration and the attendant analysis based on this claim. It concludes by saying that BOG was within its powers under Act 930 to have made a determination that Unibank was insolvent and beyond a reasonable chance of rehabilitation based on the options available under Section 114 Clause 4 B of Act 930. In making the determination, BOG considered KPMG's 3 reports as well as BOG's own supervisory assessment and arrived at its decision. There's also the second observation that the BOG responds to, which is the revocation of license of a bank or specialized deposit-taking institution or the appointment of a receiver are not part of the actions that may be taken pursuant to a report prepared under Section 114. Here's the BOG's response, Evans. It says, BOG finds the above assertion neither here nor there. The rehabilitation opinions set out under Section 114 Clause 5 do not include license revocation because license revocation cannot be a rehabilitation option but an action taken when a determination is made by the regulator. So in conclusion, though, if I could quickly fast forward, because it's a 17-page document, the BOG's conclusion remark says, BOG welcomes the independent legal opinion rendered by the Deputy AG in respect of his understanding of the facts and legal basis of the resolution of Unibank. We believe, however, that the misstatement of facts and law containing his opinion could have been avoided had the Deputy AG consulted the BOG to gain a complete understanding of the technicalities of BOG's actions and the policy and legal underpinnings thereof.
Just to point out the date on this was written in June.
Yes, 25th June 2019.
So this was sort of reacting to
this particular one that you read earlier.
Back then. So yeah, I mean that is the latest on this Unibank saga with this document. So Governor confirms that it's something that he altered, but he says that subsequent documentation sort of changes that was. I mean,
more like.
What do you make of this? Send me a WhatsApp 0244340437.
Well, when we return from business, we'll be getting more here on Newsnight, and also on flip side, we'll be asking who a witch is. We'll hear the Volta Regional Minister Archibald Letcher's advice to those raising concerns about the regional level commissioning of ambulances. And then we get more also from the former president's live interaction on social media. Amongst others, is challenging the Vice President Bawumia to organize another lecture to explain the free fall of the Ghana cedi. Let's do business. George.
Well, Emefa will also be getting something more from the ex-president on the social media encounter where he's accusing government of massaging the country's economic and financial data. We have more details on that one. And demand for dollar is still high despite the city's marginal stability witnessed over a month now. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to a new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
Tenants, thank you for showing up at our monthly meeting. I have some good news for you today. Electricity credit, Hey! Oh, relax. I am not increasing it. I just want you to know, from today, you have your own meter. So now you buy exactly what you want to use. Flexi bundling.
What's your customize, Anna?
Oh, yes. Just like that. And it doesn't expire too.
Life is good with MTN Flexi Bundle. Now you have full control to pick and choose your very own bundle packages. Whether you want to bundle 3 pesos, 20 pesos, 20 cities, 30 pesos, or even 115 cities, we dare for you. Just dial *138# or *170# to enter any amount, and bingo, you are good to go. So go ahead and enjoy bundles that don't expire. That's why we're good together. We dare for you everywhere you go. Mr. Barr has big dreams for his business, Barr & Co. Limited, and his family, making them a reality man to long drives and queues. He's lost precious time struggling to pay his suppliers in China, Turkey, India, and other parts of the world. With the First National Bank global payment via our online banking enterprise, he now pays for all that in the convenience of his home or office, giving him time to focus on family and growing his business. Use our online banking enterprise to access Forex when you need it. It takes a bank that does more to help your family. So who's helping yours? First National Bank. How can we help you?
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Boost and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop. With customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Boost and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, people. This is Kwabna, and the 14th of February is a love experience. Come, let's chill. Come, let's hang out. Come with your partner. Come with your loved ones. Come with family. Come with everybody. It's a love experience once again on the 14th.
To buy your tickets for the love experience with Becca and Kwabna via Momo, just dial *920*50#. Select the buy ticket option and select option 3 to purchase it.
I'm in Maumrani, oh, did I cry?
Come on, get the first goal for Bayern Munich. Tammy Abraham gets the first goal for Chelsea. And the usual suspect is never sufficient in the wildest dreams of any Chelsea fan. How did they count from 4 goals to 2 to 4 more here at the Stamford Bridge?
UEFA Champions League excitement continues on your super station Joy 99.7 FM in partnership with DSTV and Super Sports as the competition knockout stages get underway. The new chapter begins with solving the equation of how 16 will become 8 from 18th February through to 18th of March 2020.
Emotions have been running high. The excitement levels will stay high when the knockout phase begins.
So, will Paris Saint-Germain prove doubters wrong when they face Dortmund's yellow wall? Thomas Partey's Atletico Madrid have a date with Jurgen Klopp's unflinching Red Army. Jose Mourinho leads the Lily Whites against Germany's ragged RB Leipzig. Will Zid's Madrid have enough to prevent Pep from clinching the ultimate? And who knows what Atlanta, Valencia, Juventus, and Lyon have to offer? Joy Sports Super Commentary Team led by George Adu Jr. and Gary Ausmith will take you there with passionate game descriptions with massive interactivity. Hashtag Joy UCL round of 16 begins on 18th of February with build up at 7:30 p.m. after Champions League preview show. The coverage of Joy UCL is powered by Joy Sports, partnered by DSTV and Super Sports. So much more. Let's go.
The final whistle.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, demand for dollars by banks and businesses from the Bank of Ghana is still very high. Now, this is just by the marginal appreciation the city has witnessed since the beginning of this year. So, what is driving this demand? You have details in the following Business Desk report.
Based on the 2 forward sale of dollars for the month of January, Requests from banks and dealers were far more than what the Bank of Ghana was willing to sell. For instance, in the first auction, the central bank was willing to sell $40 million. However, $88 million worth of bids were submitted. The second auction results also showed that out of $79 million that were presented, the Bank of Ghana expressed its commitment to giving $39 million. This development can be described as interesting, following reports that one of the major contributors to the city's depreciation was a high demand which was not meant for business transactions. Therefore, one can loosely argue that if the city is stabilizing, then the demand should be declining. But despite this development and the city's appreciation witnessed this month, demand is still high. Could this be that the demand for dollars were actually backed by real demand and not just sentiments? Going forward, how do we lessen the demand for dollars while exporting more to boost our reserves as a country?
And that was a Business Desk report. Now let's still stay on issues relating to the city, because the latest development, a finance group Data Bank is projecting that the city would decline or depreciate further to the end of this year, hitting 6 cities 5% by the close of this year. The group is therefore projecting a little over 8% decline in terms of the city depreciation against the dollar. The city is currently trading at around 5 Ghana cedis, 68 pesos. However, we have witnessed some marginal appreciation so far. With this projection, it means that things could be a little bit bad for us before we end the year. The group, in its assessment for this year, is also warning that government would end this year spending far more than what it has projected to spend in the 2020 budget. Now, ex-President John Mahama is accusing government of massaging the country's economic and financial data, a development he believes is not good for the economy and investor confidence. Answering questions from some selected journalists on his live Facebook post, Mr. Ex-President actually said this is not good for the economy, raising questions about the credibility of those who are managing the economy.
The challenge is not my figures. I'm saying there's a discrepancy between the IMF figures and government figures. It is because government is cooking the books. It's not accounting for some, figures that should be on budget. They're treating them offline and online. IMF has realized this and brought all that above line. So you're showing a deficit of 7%. And I'm saying that if you add the factoring, which is the payment of contractors using the fidelity system, it takes the budget deficit to even 8%. So it's not me saying it. My challenge is government should come and explain the difference between the last Article 4 figures that IMF has issued and the current figures that government, has given us.
And that was ex-President John Mahama speaking to some selected journalists on his live Facebook post. He's also accusing government of reckless borrowing, which could actually end up crashing the economy. Now, Ghana's Customer Service Index for 2019 has revealed that customer service in the public sector is generally poor. The survey showed that the public sector scored the lowest point of 56.45% among 9 sectors actually reviewed. The customer service, which actually measures the satisfaction of customers per service provided in the various sectors of the economy, it actually surveyed 1,200 persons in the last quarter of 2019. Yvonne McCarthy is the president of the Institute of Customer Service Professionals.
Our public sector scored a D in the academic grading system, which is 56.45. So, like I said, there's this thing. For example, there's no other place to register your business apart from the Registrar General. There's no other place to your tax returns apart from GRA. So there's this monopoly, if you want, that they enjoy. And it's almost as if whether you want to come to us or not, you will come to us. And I think that informs some of their behavior. But if you had a situation where you had 3 or 4 different companies taking up these services, there would be a difference. So I think for the public sector, like I said, we admit there's a problem. But the solution will come when they decide that they want to do something about the problem.
Yvonne McCarthy is the president of the Institute of Customer Service Professionals. The country director for Invest in Africa, Ghana, Clarence Nata, is projecting some challenging times for small businesses this year due to the elections. He is, however, quick to add that the Continental Free Trade Deal may offer some opportunity depending on how they strategize in terms of taking advantage of it. Mr. Nata has been speaking to Joy Business ahead of the Invest in Africa was slated for, that is, tomorrow, Friday.
What for me is the real game-changing opportunity is the fact that within the same year, we're going to have operationalization of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. And then that suddenly opens up opportunities beyond Ghana to SMEs, who obviously, like I said, play a key role in the economy. So the focus on an access to market is no longer about Ghana. It's about the larger African pool. And that gets me excited because you're talking about 1 billion consumers, a potential 3 trillion economy. So huge space for growth.
Third year for this award ceremony. Now, finally, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, that is greater, is hopeful of fixing the country's housing deficit in the coming year. That is, if the current proposal before Parliament is given the required attention. The press briefing to outline plans for this year, the acting executive director, Sami Ameibo, expressed the optimism of the association's capability of actually providing 200,000 affordable houses every year.
We actually met with the president himself last year around, I think, April, and we had a frank discussion where the president eventually tasked Greda to try and come up with affordable housing. And in fact, he to quote him, he said, "You are not worth my attention if you cannot deliver more than 20,000 housing a year." And so eventually he tasked us that he's expecting Greda to come up with a proposal that could develop a minimum of 20,000 housing a year. So we also came back, sat down. It took a while because we are all aware of where certain adverts, certain short-cutting ceremonies are done in the name of affordable housing projects, and it ends there. After the short-cutting, nothing happens. So Greda didn't want to join that fray. So we sat down, looked at the issues, and critically did analysis of what has happened in the past, what can actually take place. And we went back to the president with our proposal. We are yet to get the response from him.
Executive Director of Greater Sami Amegaibo. And that's all for Business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, George. We have faced some of your comments that you sent in via WhatsApp on 0244340437. This one says, I honestly don't understand why this current government has been behaving the way they've been doing since 2017. They are almost closing down businesses belonging to their political opponents. Okay, so that's from Andrews in Obuasi. This one says, Kweku Edu Jimfi Pokwasi says, seriously speaking, some people are just interested in creating confusion in the system. Thank God we all had a quick response from the Deputy AG on this matter. BB in North Kanishi says, I can't believe that our tax monies commission and recommission ambulances whilst completed hospitals meant to treat these patients have been left in the bush to rot. And Nanake in Doma says, Evan, this clearly shows that the NPP government was not in a hurry to close any bank, but rather exhausted all necessary avenues before taking those decisions. Some of your comments that you've sent in via WhatsApp. And business has also been talking about this social media interaction that is currently ongoing, being conducted by the former president, John Dramani Mahama. Amongst others, he's been speaking on the public debt stock, a number of issues. You also heard him on the bank collapse. He's also been talking about the city, and he's challenged the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to explain the rationale behind the free fall of the city, accusing him of failing to manage the economy well.
I remember that when those comments were made, I said to my brother, Dr. Bawumia, and his flag bearer, Nana Akufo-Addo, that they had never run a country before, and they had never been president before, and so they don't know the challenges of managing that position. I'm sure today they see the reality, and I'd have hoped that Bawumia will give another lecture at Central University and say some of the same theoretical things he used to say. You don't run an economy from textbooks. You don't run an economy with economic lectures. Running an economy takes practical work, determination, and prioritization. Public finance is a completely different thing. You need to work at it. You need to understand it. You need to see where public resources should be channeled to give you the best outcomes. And that's why when we're in government, one of the things we did with my finance minister, he's here, we said that, look, we cannot continue piling on the public debt. We must find a way where that public debt is sustainable, and we put in place mechanisms where when we borrow the debt can pay for itself. Terminal 3, we did off-government debt. Ghana Airport Company went and borrowed it. They said, look, give us our 60% of the passenger service levy you take from us. And if you give it to us, we'll build Terminal 3 and we will finance the project ourselves. I saw the finance minister. I said, finance minister, can you give them back their 60%? Because the passenger service levy was $100 per passenger. And government was taking $60 and giving them $40. And so Ghana Airport Company was financing all their operations with $40 of passenger service levy. So he said, oh, we factored it into the budget this year. So I assured them that in 2016, we'll give them back their $60. And so they can start negotiating for it. They did. They negotiated for it. They got Stanbic, African Development Bank, and all of them to come on board as a consortium and finance Terminal 3. The next budget, we took out their $60, 60% of revenue, and restored their full revenue. And they put it in a centralized account, a debt service account. And so Terminal 3, the money is going there. Every whatever the agreement is, the banks are taking out their finances. So it's this innovative kind of borrowing. We can do dualization of our major roads and toll them.
That's the former president, John Dramani Mahama, in that social media interaction. We'll give you more of that in subsequent bulletins. Let's do sports now. Is the computer back? Benedict Owusu was the latest.
All right, so we're still talking about the Black Stars, and the new coach of the team, Siki Akono, is calling for massive support from Ghanaians as he gets ready to play his first game in March. Now, Coach Akono is currently on a tour of Europe in search of players for the Nations Cup qualifier doubleheader with Sudan. And for him, massive support for the team will take them to the next level.
I will be myself. I will be myself. That I can assure you that I will be myself. Even though it will come with a lot of challenges, I will be myself. I'm one of your children, one of your sons who has been given this opportunity. I'm not a stranger. I need the support that everybody will need for us to achieve success. I want Ghana to win. I'm a Ghanaian, so support me.
Alright, so the message is loud and clear. He needs your support, so let's all support Siki Akono to win us the next Africa Cup of Nations. Now, 42 players have been invited into the Women's National Under 17 team, that's the Black Maidens, to begin preparations for the 2020 FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup qualifier. Now, the invited players are expected to arrive at the Ghana Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram Pram. That's today. Well, there's a game currently ongoing. It's a Copa del Rey round of 16 game between Barca and Leganes, and Barca leading by 2-0. But away from that, the Australian Open is getting interesting. Evans and Emefa and Novak Djokovic moved a step closer to retaining the Australian Open title with a straight set semi-final win over injury-hit rival Roger Federer. Now, Djokovic aiming for a 17th Grand Slam title will face Dominic Thiem or Alexander Zverev in Sunday's final. In the women's division, Gabin Muguruza continued her recent revival by reaching the Australian Open final with a straight set win over Romania's Simona Halep, and she will face American Sophia Kenin in Saturday's final. That's your sports.
You done? Yeah, that's Benedict Owusu with the latest from the world of sport.
Well, the minority in Parliament has served notice to resist efforts by government to give a $23 million tax waiver for the Pullman Accra Airport City Hotel project in Accra. Now, the Finance Minister has laid before Parliament request for the tax waiver on the procurement of materials, machinery and equipment for the project.
But the minority is questioning why a private product should be given such tax incentives. President Akufo-Addo cut short for the project in December 2018, and the minority is alleging the individual leading it is his brother-in-law. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with more. What are the details of this request currently before Parliament?
So it starts with a letter that Yofi Grant, who is the CEO of the GIPC, the Investment Promotion Council, wrote to the Finance Minister requesting for that waiver. And to break it down briefly, among the waivers that they're requesting, they will be bringing in operational vehicles, and there's tax on that to the tune of $300,000. They want a waiver on that. They'll be doing some local purchases, and they want tax waiver on that to the tune of $1 million. And then they would be importing some items, and they want $22 million in tax waivers on that when it comes to NHIS, Get Fund, domestic VAT. Those are some of the taxes that they seek in the waiver.
At what stage is the request?
It's still before Parliament Finance Committee after it was laid on the floor on Tuesday, and the committee is still considering it.
And the minority is raising some concerns. We can hear from them.
It's extremely unacceptable that we are being asked to waive tax almost $24 million, which is the equivalent of 136 million Ghana cedis, in favor of a purely privately owned company. There's no state interest in this company. Now, what therefore is the benefit of the Republic of Ghana, particularly when the location of the said hotel, which is at the Airport City Enclave, contains other private properties which have been constructed by other citizens and other private companies who didn't enjoy tax waiver. So already you are placing this competitor at an advantage. That is not the case
What's
here.
your suspicion on how come this company is still getting the tax waivers?
Our suspicion,
all these conditions haven't been met.
our suspicion is that because it is owned by the brother-in-law of the president, our checks at the Registrar General's Department reveals that the company is owned by the brother-in-law of the president, who is married to the First Lady's younger sister. And that is revealing.
And did we get any reaction to the allegations being made by the minority?
Finance Ministry officials say the GIPC law allows them to be given this particular waiver, and the GIPC says that they are not commenting. They will deal with the issue at the level of Parliament.
Now, it's time for our Arrival Live campaign tonight, and the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Jose Usu, is alleging political expediency has made it difficult for government to strictly enforce road regulations. The Member of Parliament for Bakwai, who is also a former Chief Executive Officer of the DVLA, says the absence of strict enforcement of the laws is responsible for the carnage on our roads.
Consistently ensuring that drivers are disciplined. Discipline in the acquisition of their driver's license, discipline in the maintenance of their vehicles, and discipline on the road. Because I used to argue that some of the things feed drivers do on the road, no license, a testing officer would pass such a person if he did the same thing during the driving test. We brought in, particularly the vehicle testing system, equipment to ensure that where human failings were compromising safety, machines would take care of them. But are we ensuring that all vehicles do it? As we speak, commercial vehicles are not required to go on the machines because commercial drivers are organized and they can demonstrate against governments, and governments are afraid. But otherwise, safety of you, the driver, and your passengers should be paramount. The rule, every driver knows that you cannot overtake at a place where you cannot see clearly up to 50 meters or more. But they do it all the time. What people do on the road, if we had money, we employ for every 110 kilometers, they have 2-3 policemen there, and then we make sure that we have cameras. If you breach any of the road use rules, you are punished. But we don't have that kind of money. There's competition between building more schools, classroom blocks, employing more teachers and nurses and hospitals, and employing more policemen to man the roads. We should also take responsibility as individual drivers. Congratulate you for starting that project. I'll support it with every information I have. But please, let's sustain and put the pressure on the drivers and the unions to accept voluntarily to have their vehicles tested.
That's the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Jose Usu. In that interaction with you on PM Express, he mentions what we should do going forward.
The testing bit that he mentioned says when they tried implementing it, policy was changed subsequently when the drivers agitated because, he was candid enough to say for politicians, he knew that there was election approaching, and because of the votes, media gave voice to the drivers and put pressure on the politicians who revised who changed the policy. He is now arguing that the media should put the same pressure now for the policymakers to revive those testing regime. Okay. Now, there's been some commissioning and recommissioning this week. Today, on Tuesday, we know that the president did the grand commissioning of the ambulances. Now, the central region, which we're told the northern and the Volta regions today held the second commissioning ceremonies for the ambulances, which were handed to them by the president on Tuesday. According to the Volta regional minister, Archibald Lecha, anyone who questions the motive to organize a ceremony to redistribute ambulances is a witch. Listen.
There is nothing wrong with the ambulances coming to the coordinating council for us to receive them and hand them over to be taken care of by the assemblies. Anybody who criticizes this has a problem. We need to take him to synagogue for deliverance. I think that when something good happens in our country, we should be happy. Because if good things happen, we are not happy, that is equivalent to witchcraft.
So you know what your problem is if you're questioning the redistribution of the ambulance.
Are you one of those?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
And I'm not a witch. And that's about it for tonight. And we know we are getting ready for 14th of February 2020 at the Labadi Beach Hotel. Is the Love Experience with Kwabena and Becca. Some of you have been treating us to your favorite Becca song. We'll leave you with that. I am Emefa Apawu.
My name is Mensah.
You lied to me. You betrayed my trust.